Yeah.
This year's quarterback draft class is extremely weak, but the same cannot be said for the wide receiver class. This wide receiver draft class is absolutely loaded from top to bottom, and all of these players are bound to make an immediate impact in the NFL. So today here at the Gridiron Expert, we are going to rank our top 5 wide receivers heading in to Thursday's NFL Draft. We're going to take a look at how they did in 2021, some strengths and weaknesses for them as a player, and where they might end up here in just a few days. So we're going to go ahead and jump right into our ranking, starting at number 5 with Chris Olave out of Ohio State. And I think a lot of people might be shocked to see Olave so low on our draft board, but we're here to say, guys, first off, that all 5 of these players we're going to talk about today are bound to be first-round selections. Olave, for us, just falls a little bit behind these other 4, but he's got great speed. He's just a little bit smaller in his size, and that to me is a slight disadvantage. Many comparing him to a Chris Godwin with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But Olave is a phenomenal route runner. He has a great job of finding separation, and because of that, he is a reliable deep ball threat and even more reliable red zone threat, making immediate impacts, big impacts on both of those areas during his time in Columbus. He stands at 6 feet tall, 187 pounds, and he's a guy that's going to have to put on a little bit more weight and become a little bit more physical in the NFL if he wants to have as much success there as he did at the college level. 936 yards and 13 touchdowns in 2021. Whoever lands Olave is getting a big-time playmaker. Certainly some things he has to work on, but still a guy that is a first-round selection nonetheless. Coming in at number 4, Treylon Burks out of Arkansas. This, to me, is maybe the steal of the wide receiver draft class. Whoever lands Treylon Burks is going to be set at the wide receiver position. And to really show you how big and how great this wide receiver draft class is, Burks is only coming in at 4 in our list. We think he's the steal of the wide receiver class, and yet he only comes in at 4th. But Burks has great size and great speed, but the speed is a bit of a build-up. He's not going to have speed right out the gate. He's a guy that has to build it up a little bit, get it to him in space, and then he's able to take off. He doesn't have that breakaway speed immediately. Yes, he may have had a disappointing NFL combine. Don't focus on that. The potential is there for Burks, and if you look at what he did at Arkansas, it truly is unbelievable. Over 1,100 reception yards and 11 touchdowns in 2021. He has great hands, huge size, is extremely physical, and again, once you get him in space, he can do a lot. We saw Arkansas utilizing that a lot on a couple of just short and intermediate routes. We didn't really see them go deep to Treylon Burks that much, but he still, on those routes, showed that he was able to go up and get the ball one-on-one against a cornerback. But those short and intermediate routes are the ways that he was making an immediate impact with the Razorbacks. Quick slants, bubble screens, things like that, where he's able to build up that speed and take off in space. Whoever lands Treylon Burks is going to be set at that position. We expect him to be a first-rounder, selected around 20th or 21st. Jamison Williams comes in at number 3 out of Alabama. The million-dollar question for him is, how does he respond from that ACL injury? You know, that might be a reason that some people are hesitant in taking Williams, maybe not as early as he would have been had he not torn his ACL in that national championship against Georgia. Before that, he was putting up ridiculous numbers. Over 1,500 yards with 15 touchdowns in 2021, both of those numbers leading the entire SEC. He's an extremely fast wide receiver. Alabama used him quite a bit on jet sweeps and deep balls. We can see him utilizing that again in the NFL. Similar to Treylon Burks, if you get Jamison Williams in space, he's going to do some damage. He's going to be extremely difficult to stop. He is an all-around great player. Plenty of wide receivers we've seen out of Alabama recently making an immediate impact, like Jalen Waddle. But we look at Jamison Williams again. How does he respond from that ACL injury? And is that going to deter some teams in taking him in this first round of the NFL draft? Coming in at number 2 in the rankings, it's Drake London. Drake London out of USC had 1,084 yards and 7 touchdowns in 8 games last year. He was one of the best wide receivers in the country before he went down with an injury. So again, similar to Jamison Williams, is that going to be a deterrent for some teams early on in this first round? Over 1,000 yards and 7 touchdowns in just 8 games last year, but he has continuously been rising up draft boards, at least within the wide receiver position. He stands at 6'4", 219 pounds. He's extremely physical and can make just about any play that you need him to. Short routes, intermediate routes, deep balls, he can make any play you need because he has such a large frame. When you're looking at wide receivers with the build that you want in the NFL, you might put Drake London and Treylon Burks up there together. My only concern for Drake London, of course, is how he's going to recover from that injury. We know he's recovering well, but obviously that's a bit of a hindrance there with teams taking that risk when they draft, but also his speed. He doesn't have that big-time breakaway speed, and the speed is very different from what we said of Treylon Burks. Even with the build-up, Drake London doesn't really have that as compared to some of these other wide receivers. But when it comes to just being reliable and when it comes to the large frame and the ability to beat a cornerback on those 50-50 balls, Drake London is your guy. And finally, coming in at number 1 in our top 5 wide receivers heading into Thursday's NFL Draft, we have Garrett Wilson out of Ohio State. 1,058 yards and 12 touchdowns in 2021. Keep in mind, that's phenomenal numbers when you think about the wide receiver core that Ohio State had. Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave, Jackson Smith-Njigba, who is going to remain in Columbus for this upcoming year. Garrett Wilson is still finding a way to put up over 1,000 yards and 12 touchdowns. He's extremely fast and an excellent route runner. And the route running is something that you just can't undersell. You've got to have a guy that can go out there, do his job, know how to run the routes, run them effectively, and be strong off the line. And Garrett Wilson is probably the best when it comes to that. He is arguably the most athletic wide receiver in this draft class and arguably the most pro-ready wide receiver in this draft class. You know, a lot of people were kind of going back and forth between Garrett Wilson and Chris Olave. Which one was the better Ohio State wide receiver? Which one deserved to be number 1 when it comes to the wide receiver class? We've got Olave all the way down at 5, again, showing how great this wide receiver class is. But Garrett Wilson, when it comes to his size, when it comes to a pure athletic ability, gaining separation, and similar to Drake London, beating cornerbacks on those 50-50 balls, coming down with them, he is the guy that we believe is the best in the entire draft when it comes to that, and he deserves to be the first wide receiver taken on Thursday. So guys, there you have it, our top 5 wide receivers heading into Thursday's NFL Draft. Again, this is just the top 5. There are guys that we didn't even mention. You've got Sky Moore out of Western Michigan. You've got Jahan Dotson out of Penn State. George Pickens out of Georgia. Those guys didn't even make the cut for our top 5 wide receivers. This wide receiver class is extremely deep. It's extremely strong. Now, again, way better than the ones that we were talking about with our quarterback class, much stronger than the quarterback class. And all of these players have a chance to make an immediate impact right out of the gate in week 1, when and wherever they are drafted. This is a phenomenal class, and I'm really looking forward to seeing where each of these players ends up, starting on Thursday, and again, running all the way through Saturday. So guys, as always, thank you so much for watching us here at the Gridiron Expert on YouTube. Make sure to continue to like, comment, subscribe, share our videos, and again, become a part of our Gridiron Expert team. Become a part of the GE Nation. Become a part of what we're building here at the Gridiron Expert. You can do that by subscribing. You can do that by liking and leaving comments below. Who do you believe is the best wide receiver in this draft class? Where do you want these players to end up? Talk about our rankings, share yours, and get ready for our mock draft coming out tomorrow on Wednesday, the day before the draft. We have so much content left for you guys over the course of this week. But until then, again, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time right here on the Gridiron Expert.